Alright guys, welcome to video 3 about building your Arduino robot. For this stage, what we're going to do is we're going to start making some of the circuitry happen. So the very first thing we are going to do is we're going to plug in all the components that we're going to need to begin with. So the first thing we're going to do is grab our ultrasonic sensor, which is our eyeballs, and on the breadboard that we have, we're going to put it into the components line. So again, remember, the blue and red are the power lines. They're going to be the positive and the negatives, and the center columns are going to be our component lines. So what we're going to do is we'll take our 4 pins and we're going to place them anywhere in the component lines. Now, my advice is try to get them fairly centered, because again, you want your eyeballs to be centered in your robot, and don't put them in the center of the component lines. Try to make them towards the outside. That way you can plug in all your connections behind your ultrasonic sensor. That way there's no problem. So all we're going to do is simply push it in. Nice satisfying click. So hello. Now it looks like a robot. So this starts to look like our Arduino. Let's put the rest of it in. So we've got our eyeballs in place. What we're going to be using are some green and red LEDs, because again, we want to be able to see what the robot is thinking. So in your pack, grab yourself 1 green LED and 2 red LEDs. So they are there. And we're going to put the green LED in the middle. Again, doesn't really matter exactly where it is, but somewhere in the middle there. And then I'm going to also put my red ones, one on the left, and we're going to put one on the right as well. Now, one thing I should mention is, just to make life easy for yourself, the LEDs have all got a long leg and a short leg. So the long leg is the positive and the short leg is the negative. And you need to make sure that you plug them in the right way. Otherwise, the LED is not going to light up. So what I like to do, and I should have said this at the start, is make sure that the LEDs and the legs are all facing the same way, just so it's nice and easy. So I'm going to make sure that I'm going to make sure that the positive, which is the long leg, if you can see that, the long leg is going to be facing that way. So that way I know that all the legs this side are going to be positive. So again, put the red one in there. They just slot in nice and easily. The green are going to be in the middle, and the red again on the far side. Now, one thing that we are also going to include with our LEDs are going to be our resistors. Now, what you'll find, again, like I said, the resistors, they come in taped together. To use them, you simply just pop them off the tape. So you just have that and you just pull them out of the tape. So they end up looking like that. So what we will need to do is bend them. So if you grab them from the center and then bend the legs one way, so you grab them from the center like that, and then just simply bend the legs so they're nice and even. Now again, the resistors, if you have a look, they've got the same, let's get that focused. So it have the same length of the legs. So it doesn't matter which way you plug them in, it's not going to make much of a difference. So with this, we're going to connect them on the long side of the leg. Now, again, it doesn't really matter which one, if you plug it in to connect it to the short leg or the long leg. But again, if we plug it into the same side, it just makes it easier that we know that the resistors are on the positive side. So again, let's plug in our LED with the positive legs that way. We're going to get our resistor, and we're going to connect our resistor into where the leg is. So we want one of these legs in line. We need the resistor in line. Let's see if we can turn it so you can see how they're in line with each other. Let's get that bit centered. The camera skills are terrible. I apologize for that. And then the other leg simply just goes into the next one or the one after that. It doesn't matter if it's next to it or the one after. It's not, oops, sorry. It's not a huge deal. So if you look at that, you can see, I'll just make it a bit easier for you. So hopefully you can see there that you've got the positive of the LED and the resistor in line with each other through number 28, if you're looking at the numbers, and then the others are just in different lines. It doesn't matter if they're next to it or if you skip one, it won't make much of a difference. So let's add our resistor to the green and to the red. All right, so now we have it connected in. So you can see from our first one, we have our red LED connected to the resistor. So as long as they are in line with each other, they're connected. I've got my green connected to my other resistor, and I've got the other red one connected as well. Now, you can see that with the green and the red, I haven't actually got the resistors straight in line. Again, it doesn't matter. Remember that with our breadboards, as long as they are all in the same number, so they're going across, they are going to be connected. So it doesn't matter if they're not on the same letter on the side, but as long as they're in the same number, they're going to be connected. So you don't have to stress too much. So now that we've done that, we have actually got our circuit and components pretty much ready to go. So we're going to connect our LEDs to our Arduino. So for this step, what we're going to do is we're going to need some male-to-male pins. So we're going to grab these ones. So again, any length, it doesn't matter. I generally start with the short ones, and then if I need longer, I go longer. That way I've got the long ones spare for later on. So you can see that one side is male, the other side is male. You might get your wires or your connectors all stuck together. That's fine. That's how they generally come. So all you need to do is just simply peel and they will separate. So please don't feel like you can't separate them. You have to have them connected. Just peel them apart and you've got individual ones. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to connect the ground to the breadboard. Now this is important because all connections have to go to a ground. Again, for a circuit to work, we need positive and negative. So if you have a look at your Arduino board, you can see that we have, after pin 13, there is a GND. So I'm going to plug into the GND. So hopefully you can see that, plugged it into the GND. Now, please be careful and double check that you've plugged it into the right one. These are very small pins and it's very easy to stick it into the one that's next to it. So we got GND and then we've got the negative terminal. Now, like I was saying with the breadboards, everything in line on the power rail is all going to be connected. So it doesn't matter if I plug the ground into the very first point or the very last point or somewhere in the middle, they're all going to be connected. So feel free to just stick it in wherever you want. So I'm just going to pop it in the middle just because it's right next to it. So far, that's what my robot looks like. Nice, huh? All right, so that's what we're going to do for the next bit. So now that we have our next ones, we're going to start looking at pin 13 because we're going to start at the very end. So again, grab yourself your wires. Whoop, wrong set. There we go. Positive to positive because we're going to be putting them into our wires. So positive in there. So again, we're going to peel one off. Again, doesn't matter about color. If you're very picky, you want to try and make it, look neat, go for it, but entirely up to you. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug from pin 13. So we're going to go into pin number 13. And with that, we're going to actually connect it into our red LED at the top, but we're going to connect it to the actual resistor. Because remember we were saying that we were connecting the positive to here. So the positive needs to connect to our resistor. So when we have a look, you can see the resistor is plugged in on the very last row. So I'm going to connect my green pin, hello friend, into the last row. There we go. So again, we've got the green pin in the last row connected to the resistor. The resistor is then connected into 28 with the LED. Let's see if I can get it there. It's very hard to see. The LED is also connected into 28, and then we have it separate. Now, for a circuit to work, we need to go positive to negative. So we're going to go from the red LED into the negative. Now, instead of sticking it back into the ground on the Arduino, because then we're going to have lots of things plugging into ground, now that we have the negative rail hooked up to ground, we simply just run a connection from the negative of the red LED into the negative on the breadboard. So again, grab yourself another lovely one. I've got blue this time. Again, doesn't matter about colors. And we're going to connect it on the short leg of the LED. So again, which is number 27 that I had. Again, doesn't matter if yours is in a slightly different spot. And then I'm going to take this one and put it straight into my negative. Now, this is 100% ready to go. I've got positive from my green pin number 13 to my resistor to my LED to the negative rail, and then the negative rail goes back into the ground. So if I have it all set up that way and I tell my Arduino to turn on pin 13, my LED will turn on as well. So let's give that a shot with the other two, and green is going to be pin 12 and the red is going to be pin 11. So let's give that a shot. All right, guys, so there we have it. So you can see that my first red LED is connected via this green wire, which is in pin number pin 13, this one. Then I've got my brown wire, which connects to my second LED, which is pin number 12. And then pin number 11 is this purpley wire, which connects to my last red LED. All of these will then have a wire connecting to the negative, and then the red wire is the ground connecting to that negative as well. So let's see if we can get this to light up using our Arduino code before we get any further. So what you're going to need is to grab your computer, grab your laptop, and you'll need to make sure that this cable is connected to your Arduino. Now, please be warned that some of the Arduinos might still have code on them previously, so you might see something funny when you plug it in. Don't stress. We're going to wipe it and we're going to get started. So make sure that the squarish end connects to your Arduino. So you can see there's your port there. So simply plug it in, nice and like that. And then this one is going to connect to your laptop and you're going to run the Arduino code on that.